welcome to another stupendous, incredible, and more than likely disturbing episode of Multi-Pop Chirol. This show is rated R for strong, shitty language, and as always, spoilers ahead. Welcome to another fantabulous episode of Multi-Pop Chirol, your mom's favorite pop culture podcast.
Oh, yeah, it is.
She told me.
Especially your mom.
I am Brian, a.k.a. the Puerto Rican Drago.
I must break you.
Ryan Saber.
Cleveland! This is for you!
I'm the hungover one this week. So there may be
It rotates.
delay in what I do. Captain Cleveland, Browns, Cavs, Indians, CLE till I die.
I'm Feliciano.
He's too Mateo.
You might remember me from the What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama.
Yes. So good.
Sexual chocolate. That boy good.
Puerto Rican Larry David all day. Other shit too.
Now you
I'm
can't leave.
now you can't leave.
And rounding out today, I'm Jadon.
You must have thought it was White Boy Day. Huh? It ain't White Boy Day, is it?
Oh, man, it ain't White Boy Day.
A.K.A. Perfectly Good White Boy. A.K.A. Broke-ass Elon Musk. Because I am a broke-ass Elon Musk.
We are missing Jordan today, so
Yeah, he's on the road.
I wouldn't say I'm missing him, Bob.
I'm missing him. I miss him already. Normally I have him to my right, but I got
Holding
a
hands
good
and
replacement. No, he holds my leg.
I know.
Your third one.
I'm so jealous.
On today's episode, we are going to be talking about some of our favorite movie soundtracks. Before we kick off the episode, though, we do want to give a big shout out to one of our new sponsors, Andrew Newman, attorney at law. Make sure you hit him up for all your criminal and traffic needs in North Carolina. His number is 336-663-2388. Once again, Andrew Newman, attorney at law, 336-663-2388.
Word.
All right. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off.
What are we talking about? Soundtracks?
Yes, soundtracks.
Soundtracks first?
Yeah. Saban, you want to start?
I'll go first.
All right.
Normally I do my honorable mention last. I'm gonna do my honorable mention first on this one. I want to shout out the Boomerang soundtrack.
Yes.
Yo, I brought Boomerang up last week, and I was like, oh man, I remember how good that soundtrack was. Specifically,
Love should have brought you home last
it
night.
was yes, right. Love
I think that was like my first sex scene I ever saw.
Yes, it was on the Face record, so you know that shit was fire.
Yeah, Face.
It had Boys II Men
Hot
and
fire.
PM Dawn, I Die Without You. So
Oh, that's
Toni
automatic,
Braxton
yeah.
made her first big time appearance on that soundtrack as well. So
Was that on Break My Heart?
I don't remember the song.
Oh, yeah.
It was not like one of her. If she had a greatest hits album, the song from the Boomerang soundtrack would not be on.
It's a
that.
bonus track.
Yes.
Bonus track.
So our soundtracks. I got a top 3 here.
Okay.
We're gonna start with my third favorite, which is Dazed and Confused.
Wow.
It came out in 1993.
We should have talked about this before the show.
What you need to talk about?
Jerry fucking showed
Turned
up.
into
He was like, I'm
strike
talking
one.
about Judgment Night. I'm like, there goes one. Dazed and Confused. There goes another one. It's all
I
right.
guarantee you,
I got
have
other
the
ones.
other two.
Okay.
So apparently, Beehern's the only one that saw Dazed and Confused and likes it. Came out in 93, the last day of school in 1976 in Austin, Texas. It's got a who's who of 70s rock. Dylan, Alice Cooper, Foghat, ZZ Top, Ted Nugent, Skynyrd, Kiss, and Black Sabbath.
War.
Yeah, War's on there as well. Obviously it's an awesome movie, great cast, but it just wouldn't have been what it was without
It was that much better.
soundtrack. It's phenomenal.
Yep.
Number 2, The Show.
Oh, wow.
The hip hop documentary.
Strike 2.
Beehern's mad about that. He's the only one that saw the show as
You
well.
can leave now.
My contribution to the show is
Maybe
over.
you should have went first.
It was an honorable mention, though, so you're good.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
So,
You're good.
are you going to throw your hands up?
I might. I mean, there's no video.
Came
for it.
out in 95.
Is it
That's
summertime?
right. The
Wait,
Well Done.
isn't
Yeah.
Summertime in the LBC on that one, too?
Yeah.
There's many
There's a lot of
great
bangers on
songs
that.
on there.
How High? First
Yes.
time we ever heard How High.
That's
Meth and
right,
Red.
Meth and Red. So it was a documentary film about, basically in essence about mid-90s hip hop interviews and live performances from all your favorite Tupac, Tribe Called Quest, LL, Dre, Snoop, Warren G. Tretch was on there a few different times with the South Central Cartel, which was MC8.
Good shout out.
And
Love
Spice
MC8.
One.
Yeah.
Spice
Love
One.
MC8.
Meth and Red, Cleveland's Own, Bone Thugs and Harmony,
Thugs.
like we said. And then there was 2 songs from Biggie on there, and one specifically was a live version of Me and My Bitch from Philly, which was still to this day probably one of my favorite songs. So, number 1, waiting for the react, Purple Rain.
You're good on that.
I'm good on that one.
I think you might have taken Matthews.
Yeah.
You knew I was coming with Purple Rain.
Yeah. And I ain't mad at it. It's,
I'm not mad. If anything, it's a.
You talk about it because I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to say things.
Yeah.
I skipped over it because I knew somebody was going to.
Yeah, I mean,
It might be the greatest soundtrack of all time.
So it sold 25 million copies. It's actually the 3rd highest selling soundtrack of all time, behind Saturday Night Fever and B. Hearn's favorite. I'm sure this is on your list. Spoiler alert: The Bodyguard. Similar to Dazed and
stupid fucking sound effects. To that.
similar to Dazed and Confused. You know, the soundtrack drives the movie, and not to mention this is arguably Prince's greatest album. I think the other one that people would probably mention is 1987's double album, Sign of the Times. But bangers from the beginning to the end. Opens with Let's Go Crazy, Beautiful Ones,
Darling
When Doves
Nikki.
Cry, I Would Die for You.
God, that's a good one.
Darling Nikki,
Darling Nikki.
right, about the filthy
once knew a girl named
filthy
Nikki.
sex fiend ballad of Darling Nikki. And actually,
She was a
funny
sex
thing about
fiend.
it is I was doing research for this and I was reading about it. They talked about how, you know, when C. Dolores Tucker and some of those other folks really did the push for the parental advisory warning on albums, on music albums. This was one of the songs
It was because of Darling Nikki?
it was one of them. You know, obviously, fuck the police.
Yeah.
What was probably the number one.
Me so
driver.
horny.
Yeah, but right behind it was
Good old Uncle Luke.
Darling Nikki. You know, the entire masterpiece is culminated by Purple Rain. You know, it's one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever created. So, love Prince, R.I.P. That's all I got.
So back to the Bodyguard soundtrack. Is there another song on there besides?
That's
And I
actually
Would
a
Always
really
Love
good
You?
soundtrack.
Motherfucker,
Is
you,
it?
were, you were listening to it last night.
Yeah. Anyways,
You know the songs.
You don't know what I listen to at night. I'll go ahead and go second.
So nobody else steals all yours.
Yeah, just to be
Air
on the
quotes,
safe side.
Air quotes steals your soundtrack.
Before I kick it off, though, we'll take a quick word from our sponsors.
A big thank you to one of our sponsors, Jeff Beal, and his team at Throwback Custom Cars in Raleigh, North Carolina. For over 30 years, they have specialized in classic car restoration as well as residential/commercial automation technology and audio-video systems. There is no project too big or too small, and they work all across the U.S. To set up a consultation, contact Jeff at 919-235-8337 or go to throwbackcustomcars.com and fill out the Contact Us form.
I kind of stuck to the classics. You know, Sabe already touched on Dazed and Confused. Went perfect with the movie. The soundtrack is outstanding. I went with a couple throwbacks. The Forrest Gump soundtrack.
Yes.
Double disc of just pure solid gold, and went very, very well with the movie. You know, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. We'll get to that in a little bit. But, you know, you got Elvis on there, Wilson Pickett, CCR, Four Tops,
CCR.
Aretha.
CCR when they're flying into Vietnam on the
Yes.
helicopter.
I think CCR is just about in every Vietnam
Yes, of
movie
course
now.
it is.
And Jimi Hendrix.
They were in Black Ops 2.
Yes,
You're in the boat.
yes, they are. Anything Vietnam related, throw CCR on
for
there.
sure.
You know, Bob Dylan, The Doors, Three Dog Night, just a tremendous soundtrack back in the good old days of double disc and double cassettes. One of my personal
Cassettes?
favorites.
Wait,
What are those?
double cassettes would have been like 4 cassettes. Right?
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Because they had two sides.
Yeah,
I'm
Cassettes
confused.
had the B side.
yeah. No, they did have the B side, so it would have been double cassette.
Okay.
I think.
We'll go with double
Yeah.
cassette.
Yeah, we'll do some research on that.
Sorry.
One of my personal
Maddie
favorites.
dropping in. Like, hey, man, those numbers don't add up right there.
It was the cassette trilogy. I'm a big fan of classic and soul. You know, it stems from Mom and Pops. They used to get those the ones that you get in the mail from like Time Life Classics,
Columbia
all that
House.
shit. Columbia House.
Yeah. I think I still owe them money.
I think they're out of business, so you're good.
7 free
Hey,
CDs.
those fucking buy one get fours though. That shit was awesome. Dead Presidents Volumes 1 and 2. Thank goodness I went. By the time it would have got to me, if I would have went last, I would have been like, "Thank you for listening to the show." But you know, both bangers for a fantastic movie. Sly and the Family Stone. You got Isaac Hayes all over it. James Brown, Barry White, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes.
Sam and Dave.
Yes, Sam and Dave.
Sam and Dave.
What?
Isn't there a line before Harold Melvin knew the Blue Notes? Isn't that something? I think Snoop or somebody
I
said
think
that.
so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Curtis Mayfield, The Impression, Stevie Wonder. I mean, the list goes on and on. 2 incredible volumes of music. Definitely check it out for my fans of classic and soul music. And then I was going to get into Tarantino, but I feel like Matthew or Jerry might get into that a little bit. So I'm going to have some honorable mentions from hip-hop movie soundtracks. We have the Belly soundtrack on there.
Of course.
High School High.
High School High.
High School High. I was
that
going
was
through my CD
Winter
collection. I
Wars.
was like, yes.
Winter Wars. That was the
Winter
first
Wars was on
time we
it.
heard
Terrible
Winter
movie.
Wars.
Fantastic soundtrack.
Just remember John Lovitz.
What's high school? What
Yeah,
is
there was
high school
John
high?
Lovitz.
It was like a comedy per se. It was like
It
a
was like-
Dangerous Minds
It was like scary
Spoof.
movie.
It's a Dangerous
Yes.
Minds
Oh
spoof.
my God!
yes, Dangerous. Yeah,
yeah.
terrible movie. Dope soundtrack. Friday soundtrack, of course.
Fife.
Mackay Fife. Sunset Park soundtrack.
Yes, it's time to get live. It's time to represent.
Sunset Park, what time is it?
And Saba touched on the show. So we were also supposed to do soundtracks that are better than the movie. I went with a kind of an obscure one that's a lot of people may have forgotten. I went with the Batman Forever soundtrack. You know, movie, not that fantastic.
Was that 2 or 3?
That was
This was
3.
That was 3?
Is that the
This
one
was
with
Val
R.
Kilmer.
Kelly?
The bat nipples?
With R.
Bat
Kelly
Nipples is George Clooney. No.
and Seal.
Seal. So Kiss from a Rose. U2 was on
No,
there with
Seal
Hold
was
Me,
on the
Thrill Me.
second one.
No, that was the third one.
Really?
Yep. Yep. Because the
Wasn't
first one was Prince. First one was all Prince.
That's
Yes,
right, it
first one
was.
was entirely Prince.
Yep. And then the second one, I don't really know who was on that. And then this one was, like I said, the soundtrack's dope. You know, you got Batman, or not Batman, you got Batman on fucking the soundtrack doing his shit. U2.
You got Bruce Wayne somehow on something else.
He's so rich, he put himself on there. You know, Seal, Kiss from a Rose. You got Mazzy Star, Offspring, and one
I
of my.
knew there was an Offspring
There was
song
another
on that
song
shit.
on there. I was thinking about you when I wrote it down. And then one of my personal favorites, I still remember buying the single cassette for. Method Man has a song on there about the Riddler.
Oh, the Riddler!
The Riddler. So for all my Wu-Tang heads out there, check it out. Method Man, the Riddler.
Yeah, the
And
video for
yeah, he did. And
So
that's what I
so
got for
that
my
text
soundtracks.
that you sent out about an hour and a half ago about having a selection on there where the soundtrack's actually better than the movies, making a lot more sense to me right now.
Now you're dialed in.
You can slip one in. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Think about it.
You know, listen, I think just off the top of my head, I think the 8 Mile soundtrack, while the movie for 8 Mile was pretty good, it, you know, definitely wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. So I think if you look at the 8 Mile soundtrack, that's definitely better than the movie.
All right, gotcha.
Just off the top of the head.
Before we get
One
to,
take home.
before we get to Matthew, we'll take a quick break for our sponsor.
We want to take the opportunity to shout out one of our sponsors, Gate City Growlers. They have 20 taps. They specialize in small North Carolina breweries and specialty craft beers. Working with the little guys since 2015, guys. Please stay local. Take care of the local shops.
All right, I don't even know what to do at this point because Prince and Dead Presidents, man.
He's only going to rob from my stash now.
It's like, what you got in your notes over there?
Get outta here.
Obviously,
Get outta here.
Prince and Dead Presidents 1 and 2, and 2 was very hard to find.
It is.
I didn't even know there was a second one.
Exactly. They were. I had the CDs. I'm trying to find them on vinyl now. It's close to impossible.
Very hard to find on vinyl.
I went with more like instrumental stuff, like
Nice.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind,
Yeah.
Nice.
or Drive.
Yes.
Have you seen Drive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Caroline, who's in the studio. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
She met me up here. She met me up here, and that was the first thing she said. She was like, "The Drive soundtrack is fantastic."
By the way,
own it.
By the way, Flathers was so pissed that we let you in. He was like, "Oh, you
Caroline on the
Caroline
podcast
paid
before
in
me.
there before me." I said, "Yeah, and she'll be in there before you again." And that came to fruition.
All right, we've got Clockwork Orange.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick.
A lot
in
of
general.
classical on there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot of classical. This?
Love that one.
That one?
Yeah.
Top Gun.
It's a great soundtrack, man.
Top Gun.
Fantastic soundtrack.
Yeah.
And that song comes on so frequently in the movie, too. I think that's what I love about it even more. As soon as they're about to do something.
Anytime
They're about to fuck, the song's coming on.
Just think, if it wasn't for the Top Gun soundtrack, we wouldn't have as much fun with Archer
Very, very
these
true.
days. The danger zone.
The honorable mention, Transformers, the cartoon movie.
Yes.
You got the touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was.
got the fire.
Yeah.
You got it. All right.
Yes.
The
Very
education.
good, Saba.
I think I don't know if I should be singing.
The Education of Sonny Carson. This soundtrack.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah, you have my attention.
You've heard Ghostface Iron Man.
Yeah, yeah.
Every snippet from Iron Man
so they're dubbing-
yes.
from The Education of Sonny Carson.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'll have to listen to it.
Now I have to listen to Iron Man
Yeah.
again.
And Sonny
Yeah.
Carson.
Yeah.
Rocky, of course.
Yes.
What it was.
Which
Like-
Rocky though, like the original, or as we start getting into, I think the soundtrack's got a little more star driven as the movies went on.
I think each soundtrack had dun, 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 dun,
Sure.
dun.
But
Right?
like Eye of the Tiger
Yeah.
wasn't
Wasn't
on
until
until
three.
like
Wasn't
2 or
until
3,
three,
and then shit 4. I mean the whole
Oh, the winter
Climbing
scene?
mountains and
yeah, like, dude,
Yeah.
Rocky.
That dude,
Well,
he
Rocky
originated
4 is my
CrossFit.
favorite.
Rocky 4 is my favorite.
Rocky
too.
4 is
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah.
And you had like Scarface, of course.
Yeah.
Flash for the yeah.
My dude. I was going to put it down. I said, Matthew's got me. I ain't got to say anything.
And yeah, there's the whole thing with you said Tarantino, and there was another one that I'm not going to remember right now because
He
we're
pulls
talking about
heavily
it.
from existing soundtracks.
Yeah. Yes.
I went through a crate of what I have on vinyl and soundtrack, and this is it.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You do have an extensive vinyl selection, especially your soundtracks. I'm very, very
Willy
impressed by
Wonka.
it.
I have Willy Wonka.
That was just on AMC on Thursday night,
And you would watch it.
I watched it.
It's the
The
original.
grandparents kind of freaked me out as a side note, like how they
Oh, yeah.
all
Oh,
are
they're
all
in the
one
bed?
bed.
Like it
Yeah.
didn't seem weird to me, but as I was watching it
As
this
you
time
grow older,
around, I was like, that is
Why are
fucking
they in that one
weird.
bed? And where do the parents actually
Charlie,
sleep?
go to the store for an hour and a half.
I don't know, man.
So I have that.
As a side note,
I have that still
My
sealed.
contact about flew out. I got to get new contacts.
And when I got it, the guy told me, "Are you going to open it? Are you going to open it?" I said, "No, it's still sealed." He said, "But there's a golden ticket in there. There might be a golden ticket." I'm like,
What am I going to use it
"The
on?
fuck
Well,
am I going to do?"
you go into the factory? Because I gotta go to take it.
Your imagination. Right? Okay, so
love this.
just to pick a few because this is a long list. Bronx Tale, Shawshank. I have Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, 1938
I've never even
broadcast.
seen that movie. All right, it was
No,
on the radio.
broadcast
Yeah,
on
that
the
was the radio.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
scared the shit out of everybody.
Yeah,
on
because
the
they
day
thought it
before
was
Halloween.
real. That's
Yes,
right.
Yes.
I've read that.
The
It
Warriors.
wasn't real. It wasn't real.
Warriors.
I cannot. Oh, fuck yes.
Stand by Me. Big Chill. Back to the
Chill.
Future.
Yes, how did I
Back
not
to
say
the
Big Chill?
Future.
That's a good one.
Big Chill's really good.
Car
I'm
Wash.
fucking stupid.
Is that the remake?
No.
The Drance?
How dare you?
God.
How dare you? How dare you?
Erroneous on all counts.
Erroneous. Hey, can we make jokes around here? I didn't know this was the serious portion.
Crush Groove. I have a single from The Last Dragon. You Got the Glow.
Ooh.
I don't have the whole thing.
That's got to be a hard one to find, I'd
Yeah,
imagine.
I can't find it. So help me.
Anyone's got the Last Dragon soundtrack
Shaft.
out
I
there,
see
let them
Shaft on there.
Yeah, Shaft.
Is
I
that
got-
the Samuel L. Jackson remake?
It's absolutely not Samuel L. Jackson.
know. Hey, Jason Bateman was in that, though.
With yeah, so
This was right after
so was
American
Busta
Psycho.
Rhymes.
So was Busta Rhymes. Shout out to Busta
Yeah,
Rhymes.
Busta Bus.
Conan the Barbarian, West Side Story, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Gone with the Wind, The Graduate, Superman 2, only because he was carrying Richard Pryor
Yes.
in a cartoon. Like it was.
That's the only reason I would have bought the cover or the vinyl.
I got this one vinyl, New York, with Liza and De Niro, and they're singing on it.
Okay.
Bobby D singing.
D.
Bobby
Is
D.
it good?
What a. It's Bobby D.
I mean,
He can do no wrong.
Yeah, don't.
I don't know,
De
man.
Niro, we love you.
I may have to hear that one.
No, I will play it.
Yeah. I
Wrote a
may-
song about it, like to hear it. Here we go.
What I'm really looking for, and this is for everybody, fucking Google it so I can have it, is Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci did an album in like 1970 something, 1978.
like a crooner album.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
I've
called
heard
Little
of-
Joe
I
Can
think
Sing.
I've heard of it. Like Tony Bennett style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've heard.
And
about
then
that.
he
I
did,
can't wait to hear that.
but then he did another one for my cousin Vinny called Vincent LaGuardia Gambini
No.
sings some
About
shit.
his muddy suit.
Sings about the two youths.
What the fuck is a grit?
Oh God! I got a bunch of James Bond. Fuck this. Your turn, Jerry.
Jerry, go ahead and do your
All
thing.
right. Well, what can I say? Let's.
What's
That
left?
hasn't been said
Right.
already. Literally.
Flashdance.
No. A couple of good ones. A couple of good ones. Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack.
Very good. Very
that,
good.
that made quite a splash when it came out. People that weren't really into bluegrass and this, like backwoods music, and they found it, and it was amazing.
Hillbilly
And
music.
They used
Clooney.
it. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clooney.
Doesn't he actually
He
sing
sings
on
on that,
Right?
yeah.
Does he?
I thought they
Well,
were
at
all
least
just
in the
lip
video.
singing.
At least in the video, he does.
Yeah. That's good enough for me. Acting.
Let's see. Back when I was a teenager, the Angus soundtrack, when it came out, that was one of mine. That the soundtrack was better than the movie.
Who's in that movie?
I don't remember.
Angus.
I just remember the
That soundtrack, though.
Green Day had the hit, the JAR hit on that, and then Weezer had "You Gave Your Love to Me Softly" on it.
Sounds good to me.
Side note, the Africa version of that
Weezer.
Weezer
Oh,
does.
Weezer did a cover of
Still hot,
Toto's
huh? It's hot.
Africa.
It's fire.
Yes, still hot fire.
Go get that.
I guess it rains down in Africa.
You guys said Batman already.
Idiot.
Stupid. The Karate Kid soundtrack
Yes.
actually has a lot of good '80s hits on it.
Very true.
That's let's see, Lost Highway soundtrack that had a lot of like Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson.
Trent
and stuff
Reznor
on it.
produced that one too,
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah,
Yeah.
The Crow soundtrack.
Oh God, good call.
Oh my God, yes.
That was a perfect combination with the movie, which was awesome. R.I.P. Brandon Lee.
You know
Yeah.
Jason Momoa is supposed to be the Crow?
Yeah, no.
I heard that he backed out now, though.
No,
right?
they shut it all down.
Oh, okay,
They
yeah.
completely
Because
shut it
the
down.
writer fucked it up for the whatever 10th time on the
Yeah.
script or something.
Let's see, Judgment Night soundtrack.
Yeah.
You had
Tell
so
'em.
many. You had so many really awesome combos on this one soundtrack. You had
Pearl Jam and who?
Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill. Yeah, they had House of Pain and Helmet together. They had Onyx and Biohazard.
Onyx and
Slayer
Biohazard.
with Ice-T.
And they had videos for that
Yep.
show.
Cypress Hill and Sonic Youth song
Yep.
2. Dinosaur Jr. and Dell the Funky Homo Sapien.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Shout out to Dell.
Yeah. And,
I knew you'd like that one.
yeah. De La Soul's on there too, right? Don't they play with someone?
Yeah. I didn't write
I
that one
forgot
down.
who it was.
So
I think it was like Sonic Youth or some shit. He was like, I'm going to leave that one
I
out.
didn't.
Sorry, De La Soul.
Yeah. No love today.
Mr. Bob Dabalina.
But the Judgment Night soundtrack is amazing. I don't agree with B. Hearn that it's better than the actual movie. I like the
That's my
movie.
opinion. I love Dennis Leary. Jeremy Piven's in it. Ari Gold, Cuba Gooding, and
that's
Emilio.
Really
Emilio.
young Jeremy
Cuba.
Piven.
Yeah, very young. Jeremy
Emilio.
Piven.
Emilio steals the show, man.
Yep.
It's Emilio.
Let's see. I can't get
bus.
enough.
Emilio.
Yeah.
Can't get
Bus
enough
breaks
of.
down, right?
Yeah.
It's all coming back. To
Oh
me now.
God, this movie's awesome.
He's sobering up a
fucking
little
great,
bit, ladies and gents.
We'll do a whole show on it. I can't get enough of Cyndi Lauper on the Goonies soundtrack. I will rock that out. I don't care who's beside me in line.
Good enough? Is that the name of the song?
Good, yeah, Goonies are good enough.
That's when Brand was working out.
But my number one all-time favorite soundtrack has got to be from the movie Rushmore.
Awesome
That's
choice.
a Wes
I
Anderson
love
movie.
that movie.
It's so good. Mark Mothersbaugh, who was from Devo, was originally in Devo.
Okay.
He did most of the scoring on that movie. And then you've got really awesome tracks from The Creation, The Kinks, Rolling Stones, Cat Stevens, The Who, John Lennon. It's loaded up, and Wes Anderson can really sync up powerful, moments in songs to sync up with what's going on in his movies. Like the back and forth with the two characters in Rushmore, like when they're at they're fighting at their worst. It makes it so funny with the soundtrack attached.
I would
It's
say
one of my
he's
favorites.
as good as Tarantino is good.
Yeah.
With the soundtrack?
Yeah.
No, really.
Yeah, because like the Royal Tenenbaum soundtrack is really good.
And Mark
Wes
Mothersbaugh
Anderson.
does. He basically does music duties for Wes Anderson
Yeah.
for his movies.
Okay.
The last thing he did, you might have noticed some really awesome music in Thor Ragnarok. He did that.
Oh, interesting.
He did.
He
all
did
that.
the whole soundtrack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Is that it? Because there's one that I expected from at least one of you that I haven't heard yet.
Well, my number
I said
one
Friday.
soundtrack that is better than the movie is Tron Legacy, only because Daft Punk did such a great job and they did their job.
Did they do the whole album? They did the whole album,
they really
right?
did. They did their job, and they even appeared in the movie looking cool as shit. And then the writers just completely
that movie was
let us
fucking
down.
horrible.
Yeah.
So basically,
I just had a conversation with my second cousin Will. Big shout out to Will. He knows his movies.
What I will.
Really will.
He really knows his stuff. But no, we were talking about it, and I said that it was better than the actual movie, and he just shook his head. He really likes the movie.
Sorry, Will.
But I was. I had high expectations because of the first movie. There wasn't a great soundtrack on the first movie, but the movie was what it was,
Yeah.
and I was expecting a better story at least. Now, it looked and sounded amazing.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
the script was a giant.
It's
It was
always
unnecessary.
Tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always
Yeah.
tough when you do that 20 years later, 30 years
Let's
later.
go back to an arcade.
I didn't
because
even
they're
mind-
not arcades anymore.
I didn't even mind Jeff
Right.
Bridges being his own bad guy. I
Right.
didn't even mind.
Right,
It's just, God.
right. Olivia Wilde's in it, though,
Oh, that made it. That brought it up a little bit
that
for
made
sure.
the movie for me.
That's
I do
right.
like.
Get it?
Yeah, you got a pretty face, Olivia Wilde.
I like your face. Olivia.
She's pretty.
She's easy on the eyes.
The O face.
She looks great in that Drake video. That Drake video, though.
Fuck Drake.
Oh,
keep
the
going
bangers.
back to
I
that.
can't help it, man. He's got some beautiful ladies up in there.
Yeah,
That's all.
he's a rap. That's what rappers.
it.
They're
That's what
Canadian.
I
rappers
can watch
do.
it on mute. I'm just saying.
He's
But he's got actresses. Though.
kidding.
A
They're
lot of Marvel
Canadians.
actresses.
I want to put Matt on the list because the one thing you didn't do is the soundtrack that was better than the movie. I'm interested in your take on that. They put me on the spot. I'm putting you on the spot.
Soundtrack that was better than the
Yeah.
movie.
High School High. I did it for him.
Can I just do that? High school.
Well,
New Jersey Drive. New Jersey Drive.
Yes.
Soundtrack.
Oh my God.
But that
good
sound.
call.
But that
That
movie
two
was
volumes.
really
I don't know
good.
if I've ever
It
seen
was
that
two.
movie.
It was two
It
volumes.
was two.
New Jersey Drive
But that
was good.
the movie was good.
Yeah, but the
soundtrack
soundtrack
was incredible.
Leaps and bounds. You got Outkast, Benzer Beamer on there. Redman, Where Am I?
Yep.
And that's one of, honestly, my favorite Redman tracks. It's very, very unknown. It's God, I can't think of the rest, and I have the fucking both soundtracks.
I feel
too.
so good about
Good
coming
call.
up with that.
Good call.
High five.
There it is.
That's a good one.
Air 5.
I'm surprised nobody said Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's
I
like
left
a
it to you
given, though.
guys.
That's like a
Yeah.
given.
I
though.
know, but I'm shocked.
That's like an alley-oop.
I'm shocked.
That's another guy. James Gunn's another guy that can pair, the right songs with the right moments.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
And they do it very well on both Guardians.
Yeah.
So another shout out to our new sponsor, Andrew Newman, attorney at law. Make sure you hit him up for all your criminal and traffic needs in North Carolina. His number is 336-663-2388. Once again, Andrew Newman, attorney at law, 336-663-2388. That's going to wrap it up for our soundtracks episode. Make sure you join us on the next episode. And don't forget to follow us Instagram, SoundCloud, Facebook, all that other fun shit. Tumblr, we're now on Tumblr, MULTI, POP, TURAL. Catch you next time.
Have your pets spading.
Be sure to check out our website, www.multipoptural, as well as on social media at Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Twitter.
Yes! Yeah! Victory!
And anger management?
Fuck anger management.
I'd like to take the opportunity to shout out another one of our sponsors, Bull's Tavern, located in downtown Winston-Salem. They have 24 taps, classic cocktail lists, and great bourbon selections. Live music, 4 nights a week, and Sunday Fun Day home spot with Bloody Mary and Mimosa Bar. Guys, check out Bull's Tavern in Winston.